My brother and I, when we were little, we would do something that a lot of people don't understand. I mean, we did play cops and robbers, and we played football and stuff, but we also played church. And
Who was the preacher?
we would take turns.
Okay.
And so I'd be the preacher, and he'd be the song leader one week, whatever.
We did the exact same thing.
Yeah, did you really?
Yeah, well, it's church kids.
If you're totally churched, and so am I. Three days a week. Your family's ministry oriented. Grandpa's a legendary pastor. My dad's a pastor, and so we would see him preach 3 times a week. And so that's what you do when you're a kid like that. We always preached out of Romans 5:1, and one of us would have to sit there and be the congregation and watch it, and then shake your hand on the way out the door. The preacher. Good job.
Why was Romans 5:1 so
I don't know.
prevalent in your little spirits?
My brother picked it, and it's therefore being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I have that memorized because of that.
Because you had to preach on
Because
it.
I preached on it over and over and over. And I had no clue what it meant. None. No idea.
So good.
Yeah, so we would preach on that. And, that's playing church. It occurred to me the other day, I was thinking about playing church, and here's why. It may seem unrelated. A friend of mine who lives thousands of miles away sent me an email. Hey, is there anything you can do? I got this friend. His house has been foreclosed. His marriage isn't good right now. He's got kids. They need a place. They need people to help him move this weekend. It's an emergency. Then they need a place to stay temporarily, and then they need help with this. They need help with that. Well, I'm thousands of miles away. Mm-hmm. And I happen to know that this guy, this friend of my friend, is very churched, extremely into the Christian subculture, knows all the Casting Crowns songs, knows all the, all the parachurch ministries, all that sort of stuff. He's completely into that.
Uh-huh.
And so I asked the question, like, you know what? Where's his church?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's a good question. Let me look into it. So he calls his church and says, they said they've already helped. They did their thing. Their benevolence ministry does a certain amount towards your power bill, and then after a point, I cut you off or whatever. And I've seen this before. Working in radio, occasionally people will call me, and these are people facing a sudden emergency. I've never been in this situation where in my life I don't know what to do. We're losing our home. We got to move. Or this happened, that happened. And I'm always like, well, are you part of a church? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. What are they doing? Oh, they told me I need to call this or that. I called the office. Called the office. Mm-hmm. Well, in the church families that I've been in the last 10 years, we've had things come up just like that.
Right.
Hey, we're getting foreclosed on. We got to leave. We have to leave our apartment, or they're doing this or that with a family. The church family has put them up. Has put them up in our own homes, has given them thousands of dollars, has helped them move on a dime, has gotten trucks together, has carried everything into storage, has stored things in basements. To me, that's what the church does.
Because it's family.
Because it's family.
Community.
But if it's a business, then we have this benevolence ministry. It's $100 a month. They can do that, and then they cut you off.
Right.
It also happens, now, you don't know who I'm talking about. The pastor of this church makes $250,000 a year, and they have a huge sprawling campus and whatnot. Well, okay, this is not against people making $250,000 a year.
Right.
I'm all for people making $250,000 a year and more. But how is that practicing what the church family's supposed to be? Like, we give you $100, but we give this guy $250,000. Why?
Right.
Well, it's to free him up to do ministry or whatever. Okay, but something seems out of order there.
I think so. And I also think that, because, I come from a church background as well, and my mother was the person who was really dialed into, needs and when people were going to struggling. So people can say, well, we have to set up that policy because, people take advantage. I know, I've seen that happen. However, when it's a family, when it's a community, I actually see you going down the road.
I know you.
Yeah,
right.
Foreclosure is coming. I knew that about a year ago. And I sit down with you and say, hey, what is going on with this? And that's what family and community is.
That's what spiritual shepherding is.
Yes.
If I'm going to say I'm your spiritual shepherd to you, Sherry, I want you to call me your pastor, I better know you.
Yep.
How can I possibly be your spiritual shepherd if I don't know my sheep?
Right.
If I actually don't know that you're in thorns right now.
Right.
How in the world? So I'm looking at that too. Like, if you don't know the situation, if they're not there providing trucks and stuff, I don't see how that's a church. I honestly don't. Like, it's something. Mm-hmm. It's not even something bad. It could be, I mean, call it a Christian themed
like a nonprofit organization. Yeah.
Where we specialize in teaching people about Bible things and having programs or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the church is family. Call it something else.
Yeah.
Or you're just playing church. Now, before you send a note, Brant, you don't understand, I appreciate that, but you don't understand. I mean, some people take advantage of the system.
Uh-huh.
Well, so we have to have policies. Okay, families don't usually talk about policies.
Right.
Because they know each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter, I don't have a policy about my daughter if she's crying. Well, okay, when my daughter cries, I have a policy about that. No, I want to know what's going on because that tells me something, and then I want to know her heart.
Right.
So for a radio station to deal with it, for somebody thousands of miles away to deal with it, for somebody who's outside the church family to deal with it, it's like, why don't you know? I can't ascertain what's going on here. Mm-hmm. You should know these people, though.
You're sitting right there.
You're sitting right there.
Yeah.
You've invited them into their thing. You've asked for their money.
Yeah.
You've said you're a part of this church family. Mm-hmm. You've said all this stuff. So here's where it actually matters. Again, or you're playing.